Good morning, friends. This is Chaplain Charles Riffey again at VCU Health at Massey Cancer Center. We're continuing our survivorship series today on the topic of self-image and the spiritual care models that we utilize at different times to help someone hear their own story and to identify the things that help provide some resilience and some meaning and some reorientation of who we are in a life-giving and a life-building way, and also to be able to identify those things that often take away from a sense of wholeness, which are very real, but sometimes the images that we ourselves portray, whether it's looking in the mirror or just thinking of who we are, can sometimes be a myth that hurts our ability to be resilient and to move forward and to hope and to dream. When I was growing up, I was very lucky to have a lot of people that were good models for me and guiding me to know what is meaningful in my life. And I would be lying to you if I said that every single minute of every single day that I had a very good and strong and realistic image of myself. It's not necessarily tied to self-esteem, but it's trying to define again, well, who am I? We ourselves have the opportunity and the ability to focus on what really matters in our life as well. So what I want to do is now share my screen at the PowerPoint as we go in. When we talk about self-image, okay, it is something that is all-encompassing of our identity. And some things that come to mind might seem common sense to you, but some things maybe will be like, well, I don't know. I have no idea. The ability to have an image of not only your body, but also what our personalities are in different situations. Am I the funny guy? Am I the class clown? Am I the introverted bookworm? You know, all of those things that sort of are your own self-perceptions of who you are, and then sort of defines, well, what I do in life, that sort of makes sense. Or maybe now it doesn't make sense to me. But this second definition is what I enjoy most. It's our mental picture of our appearance and the integration of our experiences, our desires, or our hopes, the things that we feel very passionate about. It's all related, it's all connected. And you wonder whenever you're in different situations, if you've ever been in a place like you felt like a fish out of water, or maybe you feel like that existentially now. Is what I thought about myself correct? And from the idea of a survivor, I've heard so many different stories of somebody that is saying that after a treatment or in a change of treatment, and I'm still continuing care in some sense, I'm now having to deal with pain management. I thought it would go away immediately, and it hasn't. And it's limited my ability to be the person that I know myself to be, my image of myself. And whenever we have barriers that come in, they can be physical or mental, they can be socioeconomic, such as work-related issues. When that challenges any small aspect of our life, if it's all connected, which again is what I feel, what I see when I'm with other people, then everything is also affected. If it's connected, it's affected. And in some ways it can be uplifting, in some ways it can be very hard. So when we think of mental pictures, you know, I'll again use myself as the dummy case again. Some things that don't change unless there is a medical issue regarding that. My eyes, if I look at pictures of myself as a baby and moving forward, a lot of other things have changed, but my eyes are very distinct and unique. My body proportions have changed. I could do some sit-ups, but I'm not going to be that teenager, 20-year-old or early 30s. You know, those days are gone. You have the things that define you. I used to get made fun of when I was growing up because I've not had one, two, or three, but three used minivans in my life. So I have been told, you know, made fun of by youth that have a sports car and those that aren't able to do much of anything with regard. But if anybody can define something that I find joyful in my self-image, is that I'm a very practical person, and I'm also very privileged to be able to have a vehicle, period, with 8 cup holders. So all of these little things that we have, there could be something precious to you that came from family, generations ago, material possessions. Part of that could be something that helps define your idea of yourself. So whenever a chaplain, or sometimes even a social worker, or anybody that's trained in giving spiritual assessment, you need not be somebody that is actually religious. You need not be somebody that is that identifies with one particular faith or faith group or another. The important thing is that you have somebody that's able to see you for where you are, and if they're able to hear, whether it's the shortest conversation ever, or it is a long visit that takes an hour, hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, that there is a pulse, a small nugget of trying to figure out something that is troubling the heart, the mind, the spirit, that's affecting the journey toward health and healing, whether it's in active treatment or post-treatment. And all it does is take a trained listening ear. And we have that ability ourselves. Everybody can be active listeners. And one of these things that comes up a lot, especially with the people that I meet, is self-image, that something has been harmed in one's identity. So we talk about identity. When we think of that, there are a lot of themes that typically come up. My agency, my ability to do, to affect, to work with has been limited, or there are barriers up. Sometimes I hear about survivor's guilt quite a bit when we talk about worthiness. Why should I be the one that is getting cured when I see all of these people that I know that are suffering still in ways that providers and people like me, if they haven't gone through personally, they don't understand. So ideas of worthiness come up quite a bit. Self-image is what we're talking about today, but also forgiveness. It's connected. Some people feel guilt about things that they can't change in the past. And because of that coming to surface during treatment or in survivorship, they question their self-image because of guilt that they're holding on to. So what we try to look for is aspects that are meaningful, aspects that provide a sense of grounding and peace, connection, and freedom, that autonomy. And typically, when we do start that process of that pastoral conversation, the biggest thing that I have found helpful is to allow somebody to just simply talk, to simply lovingly inquire. Well, tell me about that. And oftentimes we'll start a narrative of either childhood or a perception of self before, during, and after a medical treatment, whether it's infusion or radiation, things of that nature, after surgery. That's a big one. And then after that story, that narrative has been said by yourself, if you're willing to go through that story yourself, i.e. journaling, then you can read back and go and say, well, out of these themes, what are the things that I really need? What are the resources that I have? What do I stand for? Despite the change, despite the roadblocks, what's meaningful to me? And can I also show myself a little bit of loving compassion, like that beautiful father and daughter talking together, talking with each other in the midst of that practice of positive affirmation. And there are positive outcomes that can come from that. Whenever we are able to have those truthful and non-judgmental conversations, I always am hopeful that at the very least, somebody's able to say, this is what we call renewed authenticity. One, I know who I am, and I'm strong in the knowledge that what I am facing, what I feel, who I want to be, this is real, and it's okay. Being authentic to where you currently are and allowing yourself to see worth and dignity in that. Enhanced self-esteem, not the same thing as image, but feeling good about who you know yourself to be. But enhanced self-image is, again, an idea to reinterpret the narrative in ways that are truthful, to say, okay, this feels right. This is who I am now. And it could still be who you are in the past. It may be who you are very different from who you were in the past. A practice that I have done, that I have been asked to do begrudgingly at the beginning and now love to do, is every year I rewrite what's called a spiritual autobiography. And it's trying to uncover my vocational understanding of being a chaplain, and I have to incorporate everything, how I saw the world as a kid, where I felt hurt, where I felt supported, what things currently stand out as a source of strength. I do it every year. A lot of things are the same, but it's almost like looking at the same story one year with a side glance and another year with a different lens on. And it's always changing and forming and developing like clay into pottery. It's a beautiful thing. So one of the things that I'm hoping that you, if you've stuck with us this long, will be able to take a look at is knowing that I'm not ticking off boxes when I'm listening to someone, but I am aware of this is one of the most nationally shared spiritual assessment models, George Pachat, that is used. There's lots of models to be used. This is comprehensive. Some of them find it daunting. I don't check boxes once I said, okay, they've given me their medical history. Okay, I now know about their family systems. Okay, I now know what's culturally important to them. This in guided conversation and active listening sort of comes forward itself and you flow with it. But an ability to know that when you think of yourself, when you have self-image, questions, you look in the mirror and you don't have that positive affirmation happening all the time. It is good to sort of understand, well, maybe I feel this way because, well, my family systems, my parents were beautiful in the sense that they didn't much care what I did as long as I did my best. And so there was a mantra of Riffies work hard, right? So from a family systems dimension, that's just a fact. In some sense, Riffies work hard can be very life-giving and affirming. And sometimes Riffies work hard can feel like you're never good enough and you're never going to catch up. Self-image is how you feel. If I stuck to that and I said, this is part of who I am, if I'm struggling one day, maybe I feel like I'm missing the mark. If I'm succeeding one day, maybe I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. So the positive and negative idea of what I value sort of comes into play. Most of us, when we have these things, don't really know the motivations that lie behind us, like a family axiom. It could be the cultural dimension. I had a patient that was a caregiver of an older mother who was a first generation. She was a first generation American citizen. Her mother came from another country. There were language barriers. But now this patient needed extra help, extra care. And she felt worried about the ability for her mother, who grew up in a vastly different culture, and lots of different other barriers that might say, well, if I can't help her, what's going to happen? So you have that worthiness idea of who am I, but then also I need to so that I can. Part of her self-image had become integrated to the idea that she, even though younger, was the caregiver. And if she's not able to do that during a time, well, who is she? Or is her inability during treatment to do that, does it really take away from her desire to love and protect her mother? I can't answer that. Only the person that's facing that can. But in partnership of just looking through these different things, there are issues constantly connected and affecting who and what we're capable of doing and how we see ourselves. So once we take a look at this, this more open-ended and holistic view of what a person's story might be, then we move on to what we call a spiritual dimension. Again, it does not have to be, I had a lot of people that say that they do not believe in a God at all. And they may not even use the term spiritual, but they are people that look at things that lie beyond the physical to understand the world. So what do you believe in? What's meaningful to you? Putting your feet in the sand at the beach, quiet, connecting with nature. What is your vocation? What are obligations? Caring for your mother, working and being successful in the provider at home. What experience and emotions do you normally face that may be different in survivorship? If you find that all of these things, and you can read this slide, If any of these sort of conflict and you're finding yourself having a difficult time, it could be that physical ability or pain has not subsided, that you're still finding that you're having to move with this new norm and trying to figure out, well, does it actually affect my perception of self? Go through different aspects of writing down just simply, what gives me strength, what allows me to grow, what causes me to be strong, what rituals and practices did I do in the past that were meaningful that I can't do now, or how can I change some things so that I can still do it? A lot of these conversations are important. So I want to leave it to you, but I would encourage that if you are ever here at Massey again, if I can be a friend to you and an advocate and a listening ear, I would love to do that one-on-one. And it always stays here. And the important thing, though, is that we're able to be stronger in ourselves and to see ourselves as worthy and people with great dignity. So the inner voice training, something that I don't always do, but it's important. It's just like that video I showed you at the beginning. It says, what do you like about yourself? When you wake up in the morning and you say, I don't like this, or, there are things that you like about yourself. Let's start there. Let's continue with that. What would you say, or would you say something that to your best friend, the things that you say to yourself? Most people are not Fred Rogers to themselves. They're actually quite critical of themselves. Do you show yourself that you're worthy? Do you have healthy boundaries? These are good questions to ask. And if you say yes and no, that's truthful. And we're able to move with it. As long as we find something that feels and is real to us, we can move with that towards something that is healthy and life-giving and sustaining. And here's some things that I want to end on. Positive self-image. This is more coming from psychologists and their input. And I guess this whole talk was basically that first one. Take a self-image inventory. Who do you say that you are? Go back to that model that I showed you. Go back to those things of meaning and identity, and just simply write out bullet points if that's helpful to you, to sort of identify sort of what's on your heart and your mind currently in a specific moment. Those are the things that are pertinent to where you are now. And it can help realize what things are taking away from allowing continued healing, and what things are there that you have within yourself that you need to be able to build on in order to move forward. One of the things that I'm not good at is defining personal goals and objectives. If you were a planner, if you got Excel sheets, this might be something to help you. The best thing that I would say to do is to confront the things that you know are not true about yourself. It's so easy, especially in the repetitive nature of ourselves, to give in to those negative perceptions that just sort of circle in our minds. If we name it and we say, this is not true, it stops it. And then we flip the conversation to something different. Learn to love yourself, give positive affirmations. I am kind. I am caring. I am patient. I am good. Nobody's better than me. I'm better than nobody. We're all in this together. Whatever affirmations that you have to yourself that you can look at. I hope that you will give yourself the courage and the time to do that. We spend too much time worrying about what other people think of ourselves. And maybe we spend a lot of time worrying about what we think of ourselves. My hope is that you can just simply be proud and see the beauty of what you've been created into being. And remember that you are unique, and remember how far you have come. And this journey is something that I don't understand wholeheartedly, but I'm a keeper of stories. If you followed any of my past talks, I am a keeper of stories. That to me is what chaplaincy primarily is. And to be able to hear a story is something of great honor. Every single day that you decide to get up and to brush your teeth and to move forward with all of the tasks that a lot of people have never ever conceived of having to deal with, you are enough, and you're doing beautifully. So my hope is that you will take a look in the mirror today and provide yourself with a sense of kindness. And then when you're ready to do the work of creating something that is real and life-giving, go back to this talk a little bit, look at your notes, and start from there with an open heart and open mind, and be kind and patient with yourself. Again, I'm Alex Riffey, or Charles Riffey, or Charlie Riffey, or Chaplain Charles, or Hey You. I've got lots of different self-images, right? I am happy to be a support to you, and I'm thankful for your time with us here at Massey Cancer Center. Please look forward to our next monthly survivorship series talk, and I look forward to seeing you all there soon. Bye.